Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Shawn Jackson's BS, the Week in Review. My first show, the pilot episode or whatever, aired on the website, the Half-Ass Podcast, last night. I listened to it, and I sounded really depressed. This episode, I hope, is going to be a little different. Trying to spread a message of hope when I sounded completely hopeless is not exactly the message I'm trying to get across. I'm not going to read from a script this time. I'm playing it from the hip. I got a couple little post-it notes to give me some things to talk about in between reading my entries from last week. I had an amazing week last week. I hope all of you did too. I was going to start reading from last Sunday, but last Sunday, which was when I recorded my first episode, was the project. So since that was everything that I shared with you guys last week, this week instead I'm going to read a letter that I got from my sister that she wanted to be in the project, but it came in late. So we'll read that in place of Sunday's entry here in a minute. If the song Far Away by Stain describes my life, then this song probably describes my attitude towards it. It's a Beautiful Morning by the Rascals. I know that my life is awesome. I don't know about anybody else's, but things couldn't get much better for me.
It's a beautiful morning.
I think I'll go outside a while.
Just taking some clean, fresh air.
I've had plenty of coffee this morning. Drank the only cocktails I drink nowadays, which are cranberry peach juice mixed with orange juice. I got the blinds open, the sun's shining in, and we're going to jump right in here. This is the entry from my sister for the project. It was late. It says, "It might not be all sappy, but the truth hurts. Everything might not always happen how you want it to, but everything always happens exactly how it was meant to. Here's mine, late for the project. My mother was in labor with a baby, tiny baby girl. Once I took my first breath of life, my 10-year-old brother Sean was there to cut my umbilical cord. From then on, my tiny body was on its own. No wonder I have always looked up to my brother Sean. From the moment I took my first breath, I was looking up to him. So as I grew, I always looked up to my big brother about everything. As a child, I learned, and I was also very young when he got married. I looked up to that, and I believed in true love. 11 years later, they split up. As a teen, I also looked up to that. I told myself I would never get married because it would never last. Knowing, even as a teen, that what split them up was the use of drugs and the trips to and from jail and prison, I always looked up to him. Even though he did bad things, I knew from what I should and shouldn't do. For years and years and years, it was just something that no one would talk about, like the untold story that everyone knew but was forced to ignore. He was a traitor, but he was still very good inside. The traitor was the drugs and his addiction, and he was still my brother because you could always see that he didn't want to hurt anyone, especially the ones he loved so much. But the traitor in him made him do what he had to do to get what he needed. I remember a time when he showed up at my mother's house and he said, "I got something for you, come outside." It was a car. She was so excited. And she went out and got new seat covers and air fresheners and spent a lot of money on it. A few days later, I wake up and walk outside. I said, "Mom, wasn't your car out there?" She said, "Yeah, it should be." But much to our surprise, it was stolen. The owners took it back. I don't know the entire story. I'm sure I was too young for anyone to tell me what happened, but from what I overheard, I'm sure it had something to do with the trade and drugs and money, and someone owed someone. I remember a time when he was so wrapped up in his drug addiction right before his big bust. I was only 18, and I remember I almost lost my brother. I got a call from my brother Billy saying Sean was in a car wreck. He told me where, and I told him I'm on my way, and I was there. As Billy and I looked over the wreck site, I see Sean's car. A huge diesel with a huge bed on the back was stopped. Sean's car was behind it, and I seen the bed of the truck through the front windshield of Sean's car. My first look made me think he's dead. There's no way he was not decapitated. Luckily, he was fine. Years later, he talks about how he don't remember it and how we all must be crazy. I remember having my own place at the age of 19, and Sean and his wife at the time would drop the kids off for a couple days at a time. Not weeks, but like every time he would ask if I would watch the three boys, I would always say yes. He would hand me $20 and tell me that he had already called Pizza Hut and they were on their way just to pay with the 20, and Sean wouldn't come back till the next day. Sometimes he would call and tell me he had unexpected things come up and I could have them if I could have them for a couple of days. But I looked up to Sean. He was very good at making people feel guilty. So he always got what he wanted because he was a very smart person. With the drugs talking and helping an already smart guy persuade and manipulate others. One time he dropped them off. The youngest was sitting in front of my TV, and a few minutes flew by after Sean was already long gone. I asked his son, "So where does your dad go?" The oldest says he's at work. I said, "Huh? Oh, okay, where's he work?" The youngest turned around and said, ever so innocently, "He's like a mailman. He delivers things." My heart dropped and I cried that night. My story is not to tell you Sean is a bad person or to focus on everything he has done. It's to focus on everything his kids, parents, siblings, and other loved ones and friends have gone through while he was in his addiction. There are still tons more great things that Sean has done. Yeah, he has lied, cheated, stolen, manipulated everyone, but that's what you get when you take a very intelligent human and give them something to be addicted to. The story that is the most recent is the very last time he went to jail. He had already burned so many bridges with everyone, so many times throughout the years, that I, his baby sister, was the only one he could count on. When I bailed him out of jail, I couldn't help myself. As we were in the car ride home, I told him everything. I talked about what no one would talk to him about. I was in tears. His baby sister, that he was there as I took my first breath, as now I wasn't even able to catch my breath. I was crying and telling, "I hate you. I hate you, Sean. I love you so much, but I hate you. Do you realize everything you have done?" I remember telling him, "You're going to lose me. I've always looked up to you, brother." He's in the back seat, crying, telling me I'm sorry. I don't want to hurt you or anyone. Weeks later, he left state to get better. I can't help but feeling like maybe I had a tiny impact on his huge recovery. If he never had the addiction, these things wouldn't have happened. He has burnt bridges, but the reason the family was always still there for him was because no matter what he has done or put everyone through, while he's lying and manipulating, we could always see Sean in his eyes say, "Please, you know I don't really want to do this. I don't want to hurt you. I love you, but it has taken control." And everyone knew that. And now look at him. He's the same 10-year-old boy inside that cut my cord and helped me take my first breath of air. Still to this day, I'm looking up to him. Stephanie. Try to catch my breath. I love you, sis, if you're listening. I can't say enough. I'm so grateful for everybody in my family, the people that are still with me after everything that I've been through and that I've put them through. The whole reason that I shared on my last podcast, that feeling of being undeserving and unworthy. I don't know, just gotta hope, you gotta hang on. Life is amazing. My life is truly awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and start with my next entry, which would have been Monday, I believe. It's called Open-Mindedness, Synchronicity, Awesomeness. Plus my brother just bought me a Red Bull. I challenge all of you to have a more awesome day than me every day for the rest of our lives. March 17th, 2014. I wrote today's entry last night. Untitled, I saved it to my desktop. In all my excitement, I had forgotten all about it. After coming home and writing a new entry for which you will understand in a few minutes, I rewrote today's, and then in the process of putting it on Tumblr, I saw it and I reread it. So here is the one I wrote yesterday. I've been watching a series of videos on YouTube called Spirit Science. Although there were a few of them I found to be quite out there, I have kept an open mind and I am really starting to find most of them quite fascinating. As a matter of fact, enough of it grabs a hold of my intellect and rational, logical reasoning to not dismiss the rest of it. I'm not going to go into depth about all of it, but I definitely recommend checking it out. But please try to keep an open mind because it sounds completely outlandish. The stuff that is founded in scientific fact, though, will hopefully be enough, as it was for me, to keep watching. I will post a link for it from YouTube at the bottom of the page. They talk about synchronicity as a kind of opposite to coincidences, which I fully believe in these days. Now I have a name for how there are no coincidences and that everything is connected and or relevant to and for everything else. Now do not misunderstand me. We still have coincidences per individual person, but only in cases where it is not a coincidence for another party or event in the same situation. Does that make sense? If every time I am involved in a situation, I leave the experience with any kind of lesson, or if I have gained anything from it, it means that it was not a coincidence for me. But the other side of that coin, I can and have been involved in random situations, but the way I believe now is that someone or something else must have had the lesson or whatever from the ones where I did not. Synchronicity is, as it is just the way I believe, we and everything else are in a way connected to any and everything in our universe. It is just very hard to accept for a lot of people, as it used to be for me. Now the spirit science videos did not open my eyes to this because, if you will recall, I've been saying this for some time, and I did not watch my first episode of the series until sometime last week. As a matter of fact, I shared the link with you in a previous entry, which was the first time I'd ever heard of it. Coincidence? I know it's not. I am the first person to say I love the fact that I think logically and rationally, but keeping an open mind to new and interesting things sometimes pulls me from this way of thinking more and more these days. It is weird that one of my very first entries I shared with you guys a link to Athens' theory of everything, and it is what I call the closest thing to a religion. I claim, aside from the fact that I believe in a God, I have also shared my perception of God and heaven as I see it or feel it is. Ironically, the new series makes all of that, along with my belief systems, in a way that clicks and that, folks, to me at least, is too right on to dismiss as mere coincidence. I will share the link for Athens' theory of everything on YouTube for you as well. Any of you who still have not joined us on Facebook, I shared some links with you guys, and then I'm gonna... Okay, here is the entry that I just wrote, debating on what to talk about tonight in my head. Scary place, the inside of my head. I had a really good day at work. I'm generally satisfied with how work goes for me, though, so that is not saying much. I think I'm going to share a little story with you that started last night. It is incredible, and I know it is not a coincidence. So last night, talking in messages to my girl back home, she is not feeling good at all. Sinus infection or something, and a headache, which hers can get pretty severe, usually causing her back pain and just completely draining her. And because of this, she slept through most of the day, and we did not get to talk last night like we always have been over the phone as of lately. Before I went to sleep, just like I always do, I told her to dream beautiful dreams and good night. I added this time that I was going to ask God to place extra angels with her and that I would push as much positive healing energy to her as I could, to which I did. When I laid down to go to sleep, I asked God, even if it meant pulling a couple of angels away from world peace projects, to please place some extras with her. I then started really concentrating on pushing positive energy her way. I even thought about how it would travel, seeing as in my mind it going over like a bird's viewpoint across the country and all the way through Kansas City to Gladstone, and in through the front door of her mom's and down the hall to the bedroom where it would connect with her. I repeated this process at least a dozen times until I must have faded off, lost in exhaustion, and woke up this morning. All day long at work, I kept thinking about what I had done for her last night and felt some kind of good feeling about it. Most of this is due mainly to the spirit science videos I have been watching. I've been keeping an open mind about all of it, and although they never say anything remotely close to this in the video, they encourage positive energy transfers and such. When I got home, she had commented on my status from this morning I put on Facebook, like I do every morning, that I knew it was going to be an awesome day again. She rarely comments on these. She said it is a great day, which I took to mean she was feeling better, and she also shared a link to my timeline, which was awesome as well. Here is that link. The link is www.human-resonance.org/couples. The article is called Biorhythmic Synchronization Generates Telepathy in Couples. I have not spoken with her yet, but you do the math. This is the coolest thing that has ever happened to me for a minute that is not based on any kind of logical or scientific chart. With an open mind, all things are possible. Not to mention that when I told my brother and his girls on the back deck after work that I had something too weird to show them and that I would explain after they seen the link on my wall, my sister-in-law, who knew nothing of this, said, "You did healing from a distance, didn't you?" I was floored. I'm telling you, I cannot make this shit up, people. Hope everyone else had just as awesome of a day as I did once again. And I send you my most positive energy for tomorrow, folks. I will share the link to the Spirit Science video on YouTube at the bottom. And for any of you reading who still have not looked us up on Facebook yet, I will share the link to the fan page as well. Please be sure to like it. If you like it, I mean. Talk to you tomorrow, guys. There are too many connected to leave one out or to try and combine them. So as I go on in my journey, I will keep a true open mind. I shared links at the bottom of a lot of my entries, guys, and if you want to check them out, you just have to go to shawnjacksonsbs on tumblr.com and check them out at the bottoms. We're going to move on to And I Get to Have You, my best title to date right there, March 18th, 2014. Shawn Jackson is the closest thing I've ever had to a brother. His drug use has taken us closer than I ever could have imagined. It also has taken us further apart than I ever believed possible. That was a quote from someone I am very close to. I asked him personally if he would like to write something for the project, and this was his response. I have to limit what I say about so many people because of their standing in society, but know this. More people know about and have been through their life, if only in small doses, than what you might think. I could really freak some people out on both sides of the fence with people I know that are or have been involved with the lifestyle. That is all on that topic. I'm moving on. Yesterday I was talking to my girl on the phone, and because of the way things transpired, the conversation was very heartfelt and loving, which our relationship has been in desperate need of for quite a long time. Anyways, now that we are both starting to come to terms with cleansing our minds, so to speak, we are truly getting back in touch with how we really feel for one another, the way we used to be. I am more receptive to how she feels, and she knows not to shut me out. I have stated before that I know she is my soulmate, so when we have had the extreme problems in the past, I had a hell of a time trying to get my mind around the fact that we may not be able to stay together. It kept me lost for a while, let me tell you. So anyways, she was telling me about how things were going, etc. And she, without either of us realizing it, said probably the single most awesome thing I think I've ever heard from someone in my life. In the middle of her statement, she said, "And I get to have you." As she talked about how she knew we were going to be okay in the future, I have never doubted that she loves me, and we say it to each other all the time. But I don't know, just something about that made me feel incredible. She is such a huge piece of my heart, and I miss her so. Real quick, before I sign off for the day, I've been clean for 6 months on my own today. This is a great feeling of accomplishment for me as well. I do not try and keep track of my clean time because, for the most part, I believe it makes the time go so much slower until the next one, or whatever. But when the 18th rolls around, I cannot help but feel proud and awesome at the same time. I have come pretty far in this little bit of time. I never would have guessed I would be where I am today. The theme from the show, Friends, comes to mind, except I finally get to start singing it like this. I am no longer stuck in second gear, because it has been my day, my week, or even my year. With that, folks, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to play around on Facebook a bit, which reminds me, have you checked out the fan page yet? Please come check it out. I see commercials on the tube all the time that say, come like us on Facebook. So please, come like us on Facebook. Moving right along here. The next entry, coming soon to a city near some of you anyways. March 19, 2014. Okay, now I know I do not want to count my chickens before they hatch by throwing 2 stones at 3 birds, because I know 1 stone will not hit anything. But I have done a little premature calculations, and I think I am looking at sometime around the middle of June, give or take a couple weeks, to be able to go home for a visit for about 6 days. This is great news. Although I already know that I am not doing this whole thing for anyone specifically in total, but my family is a huge part of why I decided to start all over and get right, and it almost seems defeating that I have to be away from them to do it. Please understand that I have already accepted the fact that I have to, and I get that. But if I do not get to see my family pretty quick, I will lose it. I do not want to forget who and what I am fighting this fight for, and I will if I stay away too long. Not going to get too much off on this subject, but I wanted to share my guesstimation with you guys of when I might be visiting. Playing it by ear from here on out, but real close and very excited, if you could not tell. Still waiting to hear from the guys at the Half-Ass Podcast to let me know when my show, Shawn Jackson's BS The Week in Review, will be up on the site so I can share it with you all. It was a good day at work, as it has been, and I have not read up on any new recovery type stuff for a while, mostly due to the fact that I'm still watching the spirit science videos on YouTube, which I will share the link for. You might find it quite interesting that if you go back to the beginning of my blog and read some of my early entries about my perception of God and heaven and the like, and then watch these videos on spirit science, you might just see why I'm so intrigued with them. It is almost spooky. Keep in mind that I have not even heard, let alone watched, any of them when I wrote those early entries. I'm very sorry today's entry is going to be another short one, folks, but hey, I'm still drug-free, and it would take quite a bit for my life to get any better, in my opinion. I am on top of things, and the game means something different for me these days. I absolutely love my life again, finally. For any of you guys who still have not checked us out on Facebook, please like the fan page and scroll through some cool stuff while you're there. Thanks, guys, for reading and being so damn awesome. Have a great rest of your evening and a better tomorrow. This one's titled A Little Homesick, but Still Feeling Good. March 20th, 2014. Feeling a bit homesick again this evening, so I'm kind of hoping that something will come to mind to write about and maybe, just maybe, take my mind off of it. Right off the bat, I'm reminded that today is the first day of spring, and it felt like it here. It was nice and warm, so beautiful, with a great big blue sky that all by itself is outstanding. I had a really kick-ass, awesome day at work today. My brother got to work with us, and we turned on the beast mode and slammed some shit out. The job was originally scheduled to take me and my foreman until like Wednesday or Thursday of next week, and now it looks like we'll be done with that bitch tomorrow. Bam, baby. This is how we roll. I really do love my job, and the people I work with are awesome. Would not change it for the world. I suppose maybe I need to put things in perspective again. I do know that, like I was saying yesterday, my visit back home is getting so close I can feel it. Plus, my attorney, the one handling my legal stuff in Buckner, actually has court tonight, which I'd like to interject real quick. I guess he doesn't have court till the 25th. Don't know why I was thinking that. Okay, back to the entry. He made it sound like he could handle everything, so I am keeping the faith in that department. He also told me he could keep the fines and shit around $7 bills, and as of yesterday, I'm only $150 short of that mark. I should know more tomorrow. I am stoked to be so close to getting that taken care of, and although I still have one speeding ticket and one misdemeanor drug paraphernalia left, with Buckner out of the way, I should be able to pay my small reinstatement fee and get my driver's license back, which will help me in so many ways, especially at work. I did get a letter back from my niece in Forest Grove, Oregon after work, which made my heart swell. The girl is so damn cute. She asked me how I was doing, and then she said, "I have been pretty good on a Tuesday." Absolutely adorable, I tell you. I have to be sure to write her back over the weekend, though, because last time it took me quite a while to get back to her. I was acting like an adult, and my priorities were all messed up. I told her I would try not to act like a grown-up again. Still have not heard when my podcast, the Shawn Jackson's BS, the Week in Review, will be up on the Half-Assed Podcast site, but I'm looking forward to that. And I'm up to like episode 21-something, I forget, on the Spirit Science videos. I'm feeling great about how things are going for me, about the direction my life is going, period. My days are usually so blessed that I don't have time to feel depressed for real. Even now, being homesick, I still feel really good. Normal average days are such an extraordinary thing for me. That in and of itself is such a wonderful feeling that some of you may not even understand. I am blessed and I live in gratitude daily, drug-free and high on life. I guess I'll wrap it up for now. I sincerely hope that I am not boring any of you with this BS or light reading, as it were. But the message of hope is one of being okay with being okay, which I am and plan to remain until further notice. Please like us on Facebook. Next entry, although justified, still completely unacceptable frustration. March 21st, 2014. Okay, so I was fired up to come home and post rants and raves about how I was pissed off about work and how I feel justified to feel this way. I have since talked with friends and family back home and played around on Facebook. My new addiction, and I already feel completely different. I am blessed and full of gratitude. I still have every right to be upset with the situation that arose with work, but I am not going to let it rent space in my head. My foreman and I came in way under our allotted man hours on our last job, like 4 days early actually. We got back to the shop to find out I do not have any work next week. This bothers me for 2 reasons. First off, for those of you who have read my previous entries, you know that when layoffs occurred over the winter, other than being a little down about not having money, it did not really bother me then, mainly because there just was not enough work available, and this was different. There is work, and I have been in this line of work long enough to know that all someone has to do is pick up a phone and push forward some jobs, especially the residential ones. Most homeowners are thrilled when they get bumped up to on the to-do list. I understand that some, not all, but most commercial jobs are a little different, and that the business offices or project managers have to go through quite a bit of red tape to reset appointments. Secondly, what kind of incentive is that for your employees to work hard and fast and still do badass work and come in way under the figured labor cost, which helps raise the profit margin even higher than it already is, if when they do, they get screwed out of a week's work? Not that I could ever do this, but why wouldn't someone just slack off at work and push the boundaries of the labor cost to ensure they get to work? In my case, we finished this job today, and they figured the 2 of us would be there until Thursday. So I just worked so good that I worked my way out of next week's work. One of the girls at work, one of my Charlie's Angels, was putting in a phone call to her ex-old man, the one we worked for on the side around Christmas time, to see if he would be able to work us next week at all. Feeling blessed, even if he does not have work, because of people in my life who are always looking out for me. Big shout out to you, Angel, if you are reading this or if you're listening to this. Thank you for being so damn awesome. And now it's time to find out what we are doing about and for dinner around here. Plus my stepmother just turned on the Disney animated version of Robin Hood, the one with the animals playing the characters. I have to hurry up and get off here now because I am singing along and I'm also making hella typos and have to keep deleting. So I'm feeling good, and I'm going to enjoy my evening, my weekend, and my life. I will be back here sometime tomorrow, so you guys make sure you tell your loved ones how much you love them, and the silver is everywhere. If you need a silver loan, just read some of my blog entries and borrow as much as you need. Please like us on Facebook. My entry from yesterday. A dream. God, I hope there is more. Today was good. I am waiting for a message from my girl to let me know she is home from work so I can call. I actually just woke up from a really good nap. During my nap, I had a very cool dream. I do not remember. I have not remembered a dream in so long that I had given up on them for real. I know that everyone has dreams, and it's just whether or not you remember them. Back when I used to remember my dreams, I had two that were reoccurring. First, the one where I would show up to work or to school in my underwear would make it almost to the end of the day before anyone, including myself, would notice. It was a horrible dream. I was always wearing tighty-whities, which was fitting back at the earliest points, but a little odd after I quit wearing them in the 6th grade. I had them, or at least I quit remembering them less and less as I got older. I cannot tell you when they stopped completely, but thank God they did. The second one, which I think more people may be able to relate with, is the one of falling. It would usually happen from a very far height, and would be a very chaotic fall, to put it mildly. I never not once hit the ground though, which is probably a good thing since I've always heard that if you hit the ground you would die in real life. Whether or not this is true is totally irrelevant. Most of my dreams are usually from the perspective of looking at myself like one of the other people or characters of the dream. Third person perspective is what I believe it is called, right? Well, except the tighty-whitey one, where I was looking through my normal first-person vision until all of us noticed, and then my view would broaden. Off subject for a second here. Is there a second-person perspective? I've always wondered about that. Sorry, moving on. The dream I just had was like a falling up dream. It was more like I was falling up very chaotically as well, but only for a short time. And the anxiety feeling was very extreme. A little like the feeling right as you fall over the peak of a roller coaster. In the movies, when a plane or a helicopter is shot down, is the best way to describe what it probably looked like if someone else could have seen me, only in reverse. I was falling up, and it was a little scary and very exhilarating at the same time. It did not last very long, and after just a minute or so, right when I seemed to kind of get control of it, like right when I was feeling as close to Superman flying as I'd ever felt, I woke up. A bit disappointed, but it feels a little like a memory. I'm not saying that it was or it wasn't anything. I know that the human mind is very powerful, so the fact that I've been watching the spirit science videos is probably a huge part of why. With a very open mind, I will continue to proceed with my days. It was an incredible experience. Next point of business is the fact that the guys from the Half-Ass Podcast got my show's first episode up on the site. I re-listened to it. All I can say is how depressed do I sound. I am going to have to try to do better than if I want people to understand how awesome my life is without the use of drugs. Hell, I almost made me feel worse after listening. I will do better tomorrow morning. I will share the corresponding links, which I always do. Please like us on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Those are all my entries on Tumblr from last week. I don't know how much time I get to play with here, so I'm going to go ahead and read you my first two entries, maybe three, my first three entries that I ever wrote back before I had started putting dates on them. The first one's called The Game. Do you sometimes feel like an actor on a stage? Well, the drama in your life is about to become more exciting. Two choices await you, one offering wealth and the other offering adventure. It will be a difficult choice, but wise lever will help you. Remember to be true to yourself and what you believe, but be mindful of the choices of others. Word for word, that is written on a card I got from a fortune teller machine, just like the one in the movie Big with Tom Hanks. I got it in Seattle, Washington just a few days ago on my birthday. Just for fun, goofing around, I went to 3 or 4 of these machines that day, strictly for the entertainment value. While spending the day with my stepmother and my brother, who wants to remain anonymous, so for his sake, well, okay, never mind. Now I know that this fortune is generalized to fit anyone that would have gotten it had it not been me, such as an 18-year-old pothead who is still in high school, or a 47-year-old single mother with 4 kids. Instead of dismissing it as complete nonsense, though, I pondered on some of what it said for quite a while. First of all, I do sometimes feel like an actor on stage, but a better analogy for me, I think, is I feel like a player in a game. A game with an opposition, which I'm learning is also me. Like I play for both teams, the team that wants me to succeed and the team that wants me to fail. I have spent much of my life on the opposing team without even realizing it. People call it rationalization, because I didn't know I was on the other team and convinced myself that the selfish, self-seeking behavior was what I wanted. Whether or not it hurt anyone was completely irrelevant at the time. Don't get me wrong, I never wanted to hurt anyone, especially my loved ones. But it didn't really matter to me while I was doing it. When I first started realizing that I was doing it, the guilt was overwhelming, and that, along with a lot of other things in my head, kept me high for most of my life. The longer I continued to do the same things, the harder it was for me to get out of. Actually, I think a better way to say it would be that it was easier for me to stay out there. I am very good at manipulating people, including but not limited to myself. Most people who know me know in my heart that I'm a good person, but if my life was to be watched from a distance, like up on a big screen, by people who have never met me, they would probably say what a piece of crap that guy is. I am learning more and more every day how to be a player on the right side of my life. I don't want to play for the other team anymore. And I know that my family and my friends might think it's BS because they've heard it a million times in the past, and hell, it just might be. I have lied to myself before, but I feel in my heart and soul that it is different this time. Enough pain and shame and hurt will make anyone do something different. At least mine is not in the extreme other direction, meaning suicide or hurting myself in some way. We all have drama in our lives. It's how we view it and handle it that decides which team we want to play for. The winning team for me is going to be the one who wants me to be happy, truly happy. True happiness, I believe, can be found in the way family is always there for each other, the way real friends never turn their back on you, making children laugh uncontrollably, helping others in need, being in love doesn't hurt either, and walking through the rest of my life with the God of my understanding. And no, I'm not a Jesus freak. What I believe is probably very different from what a lot of people believe. I believe mostly in the theory of everything, which you can find on YouTube, but that we'll save for another day. My point, just like the card said, is to be true to you and your choices, really, sincerely, honestly true, and be mindful of the choices made by the people around you. It plays a bigger part in the game than you might realize. I leave you with these, not last, but famous words. I shall finish the game, dog. I shall finish the game. And now I shall finish the game. Okay, that's all. I'm just going to share one previous one this week. Try to keep the time down here. I had an incredible week. Like I said at the beginning, I know I'm going to have another week. I hope all of you have a awesome week yourselves. Try to find the silver in everything. Tell your loved ones how much you care about them as many times and as much as possible. I guess that's it. So until next week, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Bye.